Docks Marine opens 7 days a week from 8 to 5. Sales, rental, service, all in one place. It's at Docks Marine, 5803 Eichard Ridge Road.
Welcome back. This is Community Focus here on the WHKY News. I'm Ralph Mangum. An NCAA champion swimmer and women's sports advocate spoke in Lenoir over the weekend. Rob Eastwood was there.
NCAA and SEC champion swimmer Riley Gaines, who has become nationally known as an activist, speaking on behalf of women in athletics, spoke here at Waterlife Church in Lenoir Saturday night. I had a chance to catch up with Riley prior to her talk. To tell folks your story here in a nutshell, you were thinking about becoming a dentist, correct? And then something happened. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, you're right. That's the plan that I made for me. I was a swimmer in college. I swam at the University of Kentucky, did some pretty incredible things in my career. But my senior year, we were forced to compete against a man. This was a male swimmer from University of Pennsylvania who swam 3 years on the men's team there before deciding to switch to the women's team. Of course, competing in his rightful category, he was mediocre at best, ranking in the 400s and 500s nationally, to then, of course, dominating the entire country of women. He then went on to win a national title, and really after competing against him, after changing in the locker room with him, after understanding how our voices as women were totally muzzled, I mean, our voices were stifled. All of those things contributed to just this overwhelming feeling of responsibility, really. I felt like by continuing to stay silent, which so many of us did, including those people in those leadership positions, I felt like I was just as bad as the people who enforce these policies.
And now in these 2 years or so that you've been an activist, have you seen some changes?
Absolutely. We have seen changes. Even as of recently, we have seen now lots of course, states passing legislation. We have seen states and attorney generals sue the Department of Education and the Biden administration over their illegal administrative rewrite of Title IX. Even just this past week, we are seeing teams in the Mountain West Conference, for example, women's volleyball teams forfeiting matches where they know they're going to be playing a team that has a man on the other side of the net. In the weirdest way, that makes me feel hopeful. It means people are done. They've had enough, We're drawing a line in the sand and we're saying, as women, we're not going to allow you to continue to discriminate against us on the basis of our sex.
Thank you so much, Riley, for joining us, and I hope you enjoy your time in North Carolina.
Well, thank you. I have no doubt that I will.
Many thanks to Riley for taking some time to join me. She spoke Saturday night here at Waterlife Church in Lenoir and also spoke at Sunday morning services. And reporting from Lenoir for WHKY News, I'm Rob Eastwood.
Thanks, Rob, and thanks to Riley Gaines for her time. Much more with Rob and Ms. Gaines can be found on WHKY's YouTube channel. WHKY's Arianna Mack has the latest from Nate Custer, including information on a disaster relief center in Conover.
Joining WHKY, Nate Custer, Media Relations Specialist and Office of External Affairs for the Federal Emergency Management Agency. How are you today, Nate?
I'm doing well, Arianna. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. And bring us up to speed on what's new this week.
Well, what's happened is we're continuing to open around the declared counties disaster recovery centers. We opened one last week in Conover in Catawba County at 1776 Village Square Northwest. These are what we call one-stop shopping locations where you can come in and talk to a FEMA person one-on-one, face-to-face, or someone from the SBA, the Small Business Administration, because they do low-interest disaster recovery loans. If you've registered and you then have a computerized file, the specialist there can look up that file and make sure it's complete, make sure there isn't any missing information, and then you can kind of be assured that maybe you're on the road to whatever FEMA might be able to do to help you recover. If you haven't registered, you can do that at a disaster recovery center. Or you can do it online. Online is the quickest way, disasterassistance.gov, disasterassistance.gov. There's a phone number, but it's been busy. There's so much been going on. 800-621-3362. The people have been waiting long time to get an answer. It's just overwhelmed with all the disasters that are going on. If you have a smartphone and you have a site where you download apps, you can download a FEMA app. and then you can use that to register. But going into the Disaster Recovery Center, for many people, it's more comfortable talking to someone across the table than trying to do business like that on a phone or on a computer. So that's the type of assistance these centers have, 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And I would add one other thing. You can go to a disaster recovery center even if it's not the one in your home county. You may be working in a neighboring county, and during the workday you may take a break and go over there and take care of some business with FEMA and not have to try to beat the 6 o'clock closing deadline in your home county disaster recovery center.
And tell me, do any of these disaster relief centers differ?
There are some differences. Some of them that are in larger spaces will have some other agencies there, maybe somebody from the state of North Carolina Emergency Management, maybe Veterans Affairs. It all depends if there's enough space and what the local and emergency management officials want to try to provide there. We set these up at locations that are recommended by the state. I always say this, that FEMA is not in a disaster like this to take total control, to run the show, so to speak. We're just one of the partners, and a lot of what we do is at the request of the local and state folks.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us on WHKY, Nate. I'm Arianna Mack for WHKY.
Thank you, Arianna, and thanks to Nate Custer for his time today. That brings us to the end of Community Focus and the WHKY News. On behalf of Arianna Mack, Rob Eastwood, Jason Savage, and Nate Custer, I'm Ralph Mangum. Thank you all for your support of the WHKY News.